Okay, so with this stuff, a lot of times this takes the place of like the homily. This would be like where the sermon part is.
Ah,
Uh, and so the idea here is that I would say something. I would have a conversation with the Buddha. That might be somewhat enlightening. And it's kind of a hilarious concept, really, because in our tradition, we are all already Buddha. Right? And so the idea that I could say something here that would be beneficial to anyone listening is quite farcical. Because there's nothing that you don't already know. There's nothing that you can't already experience. There's nothing that you aren't already fully aware of or capable of seeing. And so we put on this drama and these robes and these bells and these altars and these incense and this remarkably exquisite ritual practice, in a way kind of as a giant joke, and in a way because it's hilariously fun to do, but also in a way because when we do this and we take time out for ritual in our lives, no matter what the ritual is, then we give ourselves an opportunity to connect to that divinity that's within us. And it's incredibly difficult to do this in the chaos of our ordinary life. And so we just take a moment to pause, to watch ourselves living, and to realize the divine mystery of life that animates this thing we call a body. And to connect into the truth that this floor, this room, this cushion, the grass outside, the trees, the microphone, the flame in the candle, the smoke of the incense, all of it is imbued with divine quality. It is all an expression of God. It is all an expression of Buddha nature. It is all an expression of pure consciousness, however you want to say it in your own way or your own tradition. This is called immanence. Immanence is the word that signifies the presence of the numinous, the presence of the mystery of life in all that we experience. And so we just stop for a minute and we put on a show and a song and a dance to get us out of our regular routine, to get us out of the crap that we normally fill our mind with, and to center ourselves in a place where we commit even just a little bit of time each week to experiencing this mystery. And as we do this, interesting things happen in our lives. As we come closer to the truth of our spiritual connection to this ever unfolding, mysterious truth, the dynamic interplay of light that is happening all around us, what happens? We become calm. We become dispassionate in the sense that we are no longer ruled by passion, passion being our chaotic emotional center. We're able to take a higher transcendent perspective. Things are held in a space that allows us to see clearly why we're doing what we're doing, what the impact it has is, why it's important to do it this way, or why it's wrong to do it this way. And we can know. And in this comes a profound calmness, ease, and grace that we can bring into our lives. And as this deepens, then we start to impact the people around us. We start to eat differently and spend our money on different things. All sorts of things can change in our lives. And nothing has to, because it's all okay. It's all an expression of life. And so we also learn acceptance, and tolerance, and unconditional love. And so that's why we take time out each week for practice. It's really all about this. It's about seeing our true nature. It's about seeing through the conditioned, chaotic, and permanent suffering of a life unrestrained or a life of misprioritization and stepping into one of purity and bliss and love and permanence. And then allowing that to permeate our existence. That's all from my end today. Is there any questions or comments that we'd like to take up in relationship to this idea or anything else?
So new it is, I don't know what to say.
You don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Or if something comes up, you're welcome to say.
Well, I have comments. I don't know about questions. So I don't know if that's appropriate.
Sure, whatever's come up.
Well, the breathing technique. The breathing technique was very helpful in bringing me back when my mind started racing and I wasn't clear.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, focusing on my breathing made my breathing unnatural because I was too focused on my breathing, and breathing is something you're not supposed to think about. You just breathe. So trying to just breathe without thinking about breathing and focusing on breathing, because whenever I focused on breathing, my breathing became too rhythmic and not normal.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an interesting sort of internal battle during all of that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so that was interesting.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, exactly. When we're practicing the breath awareness, the thing is exactly that, to learn how to witness our breath without manipulating our breath. Now, there's plenty of breath manipulation that you can do in meditation that has lots of profound effects. But first we just notice, the breath is short. The breath is long. Inhaling, the breath is long. Exhaling, the breath is short. It's like separating ourselves from the process of breathing and becoming a witness and observer to the body being breathed.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we learn to do this, all sorts of psychophysiological changes are happening in our system. And at the same time, the breath can become consciously regulated, right, in ways that are extremely helpful. Through this intimacy with our breath, we can actually know what state or condition we are in at any given moment by being aware of what the quality of our breath is when we're relaxed, when we're under stress, when we're depressed, when we're anxious. The quality of the breath gives us all sorts of cues as to what's going on with us. And so we sit and we practice watching this. Many benefits, but this is one of the most direct, is that it allows us a clear channel into what am I feeling in this moment? What is the state of my system right here, right now? What is my system doing unconsciously that might be impacting what I'm thinking or feeling or saying or doing consciously?
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of self-intimacy is cultivated by just watching the breath.
Interestingly, I didn't really feel anything else in my body at all except breath.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so even aches and pains melted away.
Mm-hmm.
And after my years, I've had plenty. So
Yeah.
But the breathing thing was interesting because I can do rhythmic. I mean, I can set a pattern. And I found myself doing that, and then I found myself fighting against doing that because that wasn't where I was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just, I don't know, fun.
Yeah, good. It's supposed to be fun.
So
It's lovely that you experienced the kind of the aches and the pains of the body melting away. That's another one of the very real benefits of a concentrated mind.
I found it very lovely that you said you felt yourself.
Anything on your end, Zenchin?
What? Yeah. Is my sound doesn't come through? So can you hear me? I'm speaking. Can you hear me?
Uh-oh.
Ah,
I think I have my speakers trying to push out my microphone.
ah.
Sometimes it does that by default when I plug it in. Yeah, that's what's happening.
La 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 la.
Now we can hear you. Go ahead.
Ah, perfect. Um, what I found interesting listening to you was this, hey, when I look at my breath, it isn't normal anymore. But then I had this question, how do we know that when it's normal when we not look at the breath? So what is normal when we're not conscious of normal? How can we know what's normal?
Well, by definition, we can't.
Everybody's normal would be different.
Like, yeah,
Everyone's normal is different, and anything that's under conscious observation is being influenced by the observer.
So even internally amongst yourself,
Mhm.
inside.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so what happens here is that we don't know what our normal is. What we know is the state of our system as we experience it, and the state of our breath as we experience it, and the connection. That's what we can observe and witness and know. And really, that's all that kind of matters. Right? Because anything outside of our conscious experience is exactly that. It's unknowable.
I
yeah,
would think. I would think with practice you'd understand where your normal was still.
You do.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
our normal,
I'm so new at it. I have no idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
And our normal changes over time, though. That's part of what it is. That's
Oh.
part of what I'm trying to say is that you don't have a normal from one day to another.
Hmm.
You might have a groove that is most typical for you, but if you're really paying attention, you'll notice that every day it's a little bit different. It can be a little bit deeper. It can be a little bit shallower. It can be a little quicker. It can be a little longer, right? And that's your typical for that day, and that might mean something to you, or you can make it mean something if you choose to, right? But you can start to notice actually on days where my breath is shallower and I'm not really breathing deeply regularly, these are the things that happen to me. My mind, for me anyway, what I've noticed is that days where I'm naturally breathing very shallowly, I feel incredibly calm, but I'm much more likely to lose my temper.
Hmm.
On days where my breath is naturally deeper and I'm noticing myself taking fuller breaths more regularly, I'm more expressive and also less likely to fly off the handle. I don't know if
cool,
that's true for anyone else.
cool observation. Yeah. Yeah, so I experienced today again such a moment when I wanted to intentionally wanted to expand the out breath and being slow in breathing and extending the out breath. And this is something that happens more often to me, that then when I do so, then my out breath getting stuck. So like it's an out breath, it holds for a moment, then I can go on with the out breath, it holds again for a moment, and then so it's like in portions. I played with it so that I said, okay, so maybe it's not time to do such a long opera, so do it a little bit less. And it was really interesting, how especially the operas, which was years before, was my main breathing thing that I noticed. So I was always breathing out, holding, I don't know, minutes without a breath, and then there was a little in breath, and that's it. So this was what I experienced years ago, but now it's more in, and then out is really difficult. So do you have anything to say about this? Is it again like maybe the diaphragm that's contracted, whatever? Is there anything on your mind which may
Yeah.
help?
So there's two things. One is that there's a physical corollary, right? And so breathing out smoothly involves a smooth contraction of the diaphragm. And so if the diaphragm won't contract smoothly, that's probably because of tension held in the body in that area, which you could, typically relates to emotional issues, relationships, stuff that's going on, challenges that we faced, but not always. So we have to explore. And the other part of it too is that the more willing we are to let go, the less wrapped up we are in our own stuff, the more capable we are of breathing out and not taking an in-breath. Okay, so our in-breath is enlivening. It's vivifying. It creates energy and excitement in the body. The in-breath is all about like being here. Something happens and you're like, right? It's activating, right? And that out-breath is all pacifying. So when we really it's a mini death, right? When we really let go, it's a mini death. And when we notice a tendency toward one or the other, that's another clue as to where our system is, what we're wrapped up in, what we're paying attention to. So in my periods of depression, it's incredibly easy to breathe out and just not breathe in for a very long time. Right? When I'm around my kids and they're jumping and screaming and shouting and I'm in dad mode and doing power hugs, what do I notice? A hyper-oxygenation and actually a huge difficulty and just... So how do I balance? Right? Well, in depressed modes, what's the balance? Right? Vivifying. When with the kids, what's the balance? Pacifying. Right? And so in here there may be clues for that physiopsychic connection because our mind and body are not two. Right? So it'll be interesting to see what you find out as you explore that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good luck.
So delightful as always. I think today we'll just wrap it here.